All right, I want to take you straight now live to Chriselda Lewis. She is in Kempton Park. We understand that Police Minister Cele is visiting the family of the man that was shot yesterday. Chriselda, a very good morning to you. What more are we learning about the deceased?
Well, Blaine, we're now learning that the name of that man who was shot and killed yesterday during Wits Protest in Braamfontein is Mthokozisi Mtumba. The police minister, Cele, together with other top brass of the police, including the Gauteng Police Commissioner, General Elias Mawela, have arrived here at the home in Kempton Park. A few moments ago, they entered the gates and were welcomed by the family of Mthokozisi Mtumba, and they've now gone inside for talks. And obviously, the police minister was not going to address the media before having talks with that family. Certainly at this point, the aggrieved family is going to want answers from those leading the South African police, given the fact that there's been a huge outcry, given, of course, exclusive footage that the SABC also has in its possession, which shows what is purported to have happened in the run-up and even after the shooting of Mthokozisi Mtumba. So at this point, the police minister is here to meet with the aggrieved family. I'm sure he will address us as the media after about perhaps how they were received by the family. Of course, the media were not allowed into those discussions. The family, of course, not wanting the media to go into the house at this particular time. Whether they'll speak to the media at a later stage certainly remains to be seen. But the police certainly have a case to answer in this particular matter, even given the fact that some of the footage that has been released clearly shows a police officer shooting towards the direction of Mthokozisi Mtumba, and him standing up in that footage that we've been showing over the past 24 hours, and him then falling and passing on just a few steps from where he had been shot. So the police in this instance, of course, will rely also, Blaine, on the investigations by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, who have already said that they're probing this matter at the moment. The statement that was released yesterday indicated that investigating officers, about 4 of them, had been sent to the scene to cordon off the area and investigate the circumstances that led to the death of Mthokozisi Mtumba. So at this stage, the police here to, I would say, possibly account. They will have to explain to this family exactly what happened, and I will certainly see if we're not in a position to perhaps speak to a spokesperson of the family, because you can imagine from the time that we arrived this morning, Blaine, when we were met by one of the family members at the gate, they certainly seemed extremely distraught, and understandably so.
No doubt a sense of melancholy prevails in the area where you are with regards to the loss of this life. Just tell us more about this exclusive footage that we obtained here at the SABC, Chriselda. What do we know in terms of the circumstances before and immediately after those couple of seconds that we saw in that footage?
At least, Blaine, there seems to be a sense of clarity, because what we managed to do yesterday in the height of those protests was that we managed to obtain that CCTV footage which shows Mthokozisi Mtumba basically sitting near the wheel of one of the cars when the shots had gone off, when police had fired rubber bullets in the Braamfontein CBD. And he can be seen in that footage shielding himself at the right wheel of the vehicles that was parked in front of the clinic that he had just been to. So he had gone to the clinic yesterday morning and had come out with some medication in the midst of that entire fracas that had been taking place, and he then hid, tried to shield himself at the right wheel of one of those cars. And at that point you see a police officer coming, and that's when a shot goes off. Then you can see in that as well, in him carrying his medication, He picks it up, and I guess at that point, because there's no sound on that footage, it does show him carrying the medication and putting it up, possibly trying to signal that he is not part of the protests that were taking place. And at that moment, when he stands up, he takes a few steps, and that's when he collapses. And we understand then from a statement that was issued from Netcare was that he took those steps, and then that's where he had fallen and subsequently passed on. According to that statement by Netcare, they indicated that when they tried to resuscitate him, unfortunately, it had been too late. So looking at that footage that you have on the screen at the moment, Blaine, it really raises some questions, and the Human Rights Commission, speaking to the SABC and other media yesterday, indicating that they were concerned about the manner in which police respond to protests in general in South Africa. Speaking yesterday to the spokesperson of the Human Rights Commission, him also indicating, Buwang Jones, that by his mere assessment, at the time that he had been on the scene, and at the time that we'd moved to several locations where the students had been protesting, they believed that there'd been some kind of heavy-handedness on the part of police. And this has been the general criticism of police. So I think at this point, the Police Minister, General Cele, would have to convince this family, I don't know how, that what happened, I really don't know how he's going to explain it, but it's absolutely devastating, and there's been widespread condemnation of exactly what had taken place. So the police certainly have a case to answer in this matter. IPID indicating this morning in a statement that their investigators are working behind the clock to try and gather more evidence, and in instances like this, as I told our sister program Morning Live a bit earlier on this morning, we'll have to see how those investigations pan out. But this family will certainly want justice for an unjust killing, which they would believe their loved one had absolutely nothing to do with and was caught in the moment of those protests. I don't want to say crossfire because there was no shootout between the police and the students yesterday. So he had been coming out of the door of the clinic and subsequently had been shot and caught in the fracas of what was taking place at the Braamfontein CBD yesterday.
So we know his name, Mthokozisi Mtumba. Mtumba, is it Mtumba or Mtumbu?
Mthokozisi Mtumba.
We know that he's in his 30s.
Mthokozisi Mtumba, 35-year-old Mthokozisi.
Was he a parent?
35-year-old Mthokozisi Mtumba. Those details at this stage, Blaine, we're absolutely unclear of. This is the first time that we've arrived here at the home of Mthokozisi Mtumba, and those details, I guess, will emerge if the family is at all in a position to speak to us at this time. You would understand that they're grieving at this point. Their reception, I guess, to anyone as they're grieving, just hours, if we can, since learning of the passing of their loved one. We'll have to get more details about exactly whom Mthokozisi Mtumba was, but also, Blaine, in just speaking to the doctor that treated him yesterday, recall, I did indicate that he'd gone to the clinic for some, I guess, for some health issues, I presume. And he had gone there. We spoke to the doctor who was treating him yesterday, and he indicated that he had treated him, and Mthokozisi had just walked out of the door when he heard several gunshots. So several gunshots had gone off, and at that time, that's when they heard screams, and that's when the doctor who was treating him indicated that he was then informed that his patient had been shot just outside of where he was being treated at that clinic in Braamfontein.
All right, tragic story. No doubt, Chriselda, you'll get us more a little later on. Stand by. We'll come back to you as soon as the police minister comes out. Hopefully he'll talk to us, give us more information on this. Chriselda Lewis, live for us in Kempton.